am so happy that you are here to hang out with me for a couple of minutes. This is a really quick video with cards today about resisting. Yes, it's all about resisting today. Specifically, it's an embossing technique about Emboss Resist. This is very quick and it's super easy and looks incredible. No matter what stamp set you use, everyone is going to love this card when you send it to them. My name is Julia. I'm with Julia Sue's Stamping. I'm passionate about stamping, coloring, paper crafts, making cards, and most of all, sharing the fun of how to do all of that with you. I want to break down these items to make it easy and give you the tips and tricks that you need to recreate these things yourself. Because paper crafting and stamping really doesn't need to be complicated. It needs to be fun. It needs to be something you'll enjoy doing. When you are able to do some kind of art or something that helps time just fly by, it's really good for you. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? I'm from Northeast Ohio. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, so everything I use is Stampin' Up! I have details listed on my blog. So everything is Julia Sue Stamping. Are you ready? Today's card is going to be using a Blackberry ink, Blackberry Bliss ink, some white cardstock, and Blackberry cardstock as well. So it's a monochromatic card. And here are the stamp sets that I'm using. So Sincere, because all these sentiments are incredible and go really well with this technique, and the Spotlight on Nature. You can also use the sentiments here. They would be fantastic. I'm using this element as well as the butterfly today for this card. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to heat emboss this piece of basic white. This piece of basic white has been cut to be 3 3/4 inch by 5 inches, and then I have a piece of the Blackberry Bliss that has been cut to be just an 1/8 inch bigger than that. So it's 3 7/8 inch by 5 1/8 inch, and then our base piece has been cut to be 4 1/4 inches by 11, and then I scored it at 5 1/2. So I'm going to go ahead and move these things over, bring in the stamp that I want to use with the Versamark ink. So I am going to open that up, and because the ink, the block and everything is bigger than my pad, I'm taking the ink to it. You usually take the smaller item to the larger item. So I'm going to go ahead and take the smaller ink pad to the larger block and ink this up as well as I can. I look at it to make sure it looks like it's all inked, and then I'm going to go ahead and cover up the Versamark ink, and I always store mine upside down. Then I'm going to put it right onto the art piece here. So stamping down nice and firmly, and then lifting up, no wiggling there. Oh, I forgot. I wanted to use my embossing buddy and get it on there first. So let's pretend I went ahead and got that on there first. The embossing buddy helps make it so that the embossing powder doesn't stick anywhere it shouldn't. Hopefully I won't have a problem with that. I'm going to bring in my embossing additions kit, and it has this wonderful little tray using clear embossing powder, which is the Basics Wow embossing powder, clear. And then I tap off any extra. Oh, I should have used that embossing buddy because I got a little bit here on the side. Next time I will remember it. And I'm going to get a little extra powder on the flower part. Here we go. Tapping off any extra, and I look to make sure that I feel like it's on there really well. Okay, I'm going to set the embossing powder aside, and using the heat tool I'm going to turn it on. Now I may not be able to talk with this because it's going to be a little louder, and I'm going to melt the embossing powder. Okay, so when the embossing powder melts, it's like magic. This is the time where if you feel like you can't see the images as well as you want, that you put a little bit more of the powder on. This is your opportunity to fix it and to make it so that it will be a lot better on there. So just a little bit more powder. All right, and I will emboss that on. All right, that turned out very nicely. And can you see how it has melted the embossing powder on? There. So I'm going to let that just cool down for a moment and start on the next part, which is folding and creating the base of the card. So I'm going to go ahead and fold this up. And using the bone folder, I'm going to, now I'm going to take the butterfly from the stamp set along with a piece of grid paper. Open up the Blackberry Bliss ink, tapping the butterfly in, and I'm going to stamp it off a couple times because I want to have it very pale on the inside of the card so that I can write over it if I wanted to. But now that's the inside of the card. And then I'm going to use a blending brush with the Blackberry Bliss ink. I think this is cool enough now. And I rub it in. You can either tap or you can rub. I'm a rubber. And then I'm going to start it on the grid paper so that I don't have, see that dark mark that started right away? I won't have that on the paper. And then just rubbing in circles with your finger behind a part of the brush to give it some good firm contact with the paper. And these brushes are so easy to use since this is water-based ink. All you have to do is rinse the ink right out with some water and reuse them for a different color. But you don't want to use them when they're wet, because when they're wet, they don't work as well. You need to let them dry between uses. They come in packs of 3, so that's good. And you have plenty to use for other things. All right, so I'm very happy with how that is. And then you can go ahead and make the rest of the paper have a little bit of color if you want. That's up to you. And then I'm going to go ahead and rub off any extra ink from the embossed images. So this is part of where the magic happens. They really show up well once you rub off some of the extra ink. And the paper, the napkin, what is this called? This is a tissue. Does come apart a little bit in there, so you just have to just brush it off. All right. How pretty is that? It's very pretty. And now I'm going to do a Hope Your Day is a Happy One sentiment from the So Sincere stamp set. I'm going to go ahead and line up my image to make sure it's straight, and then stamp down and up. Closing up the ink because I'm all done with that. This is so pretty. Now, because it has been heat embossed, it's a little bit wavy and curvy because, you know, some things have been done to this paper. So I'm going to put a little more adhesive than I probably normally would all around the outsides to help it adhere really well to that piece of Blackberry Bliss cardstock that I cut to go along with this card. Remember, it's just 1/8 of an inch bigger. I can go ahead and remove that grid paper and then lay this down onto the mat. All around the outside. Oh yeah, perfect. It's on there. And some dimensionals to lift up this beautiful art piece. moving the backing off of the dimensionals, and then it simply gets adhered to the card base. And it's all done. How beautiful is that? This is such a gorgeous card. And I have also created it in the Calypso Coral. We've got Crumb Cake, some Balmy Blue, Granny Apple Green, and Pretty Peacock. How beautiful are these? Oh my goodness. These are just so easy to recreate and make a whole bunch of them at one time if you wanted to. It is such a great technique to know and to be able to use. The cards are always impactful and everybody loves to get these. They're just beautiful. Your heartfelt sentiment will mean even more with such a beautiful presentation. So I hope that you learned something new today. Why don't you leave me a comment and let me know what you learned. And let me know if you have any tricks with embossing. I would love to hear them. I also hope you have a fantastic day and that you have an opportunity to get inky. Bye-bye.